Namaskaram, I'm Manasi VK, and today I've chosen the topic the Nataraja statue. So, all of us have seen the Nataraja statue in our dance class, but do we know the particulars of the statue, what each part of it signifies? So, today I thought I'd take that as my topic, and I've done a presentation on it. So, we know that Nataraja is the god of cosmic dance, and Nata means dance, drama, or acting, and Raja means king. So he is the god or the lord of cosmic dancing. And there are two forms of dancing. That is a Tandava form, which is the more vigorous form, and the Lasya form, which is the more gentle form. And there are 7 varieties of dance that Lord Shiva has performed, like the Ananda Tandavam, or the dance of bliss, the Sandhya Tandavam, dance done in the evening, Samhara Tandava, that is the dance of destruction, Gauri Tandava, Uma Tandava, Kalika Tandava, etc. So basically, the Nataraja statue is a significant visual interpretation of the Brahman, and it actually has a framework of it's like an interplay, brings into an interplay or a framework of all the environmental aspects, your aesthetics, Puranas, philosophy, everything is being depicted in the statue. Story of Apasmara. So we saw this. We can see the person who is there beneath which Lord Shiva is dancing. So what is the story behind it? So initially there was a forest, and that forest is called as the Tillaivanam or Tarukavanam in Tamil, in Sanskrit, and that in that forest there lived as a sect of saints who did not believe in God and they only believed in karma. So Lord Shiva wanted to prove these saints wrong, or he wanted to teach these saints a lesson. So Lord Shiva took the form of a beggar, which is who's known as Bhikshadanar, and he came to this village forest. And what happened is all the wives of these yogis of the forest, they started going behind this beggar because of his physical attributes and his charm. So the yogis or the saints of that forest, they were very angry at this and they did not like it. So they decided to put the yajna with Atharva Veda to kill this innocent beggar. So from the yajna, first came from the fires of the yajna a tiger, which Shiva wore as his loincloth. Then came an antelope with huge horns, which Shiva took it, made it into minuscule and took it up in his arms. Frustrated, then came an elephant, which Shiva wore as his upper cloth. And then the saints also chanted mantras to bring out snakes, which Shiva wore as his ornaments around his neck. Finally, after so many were very furious, and they finally put all the power together to bring out the dwarf, which is known as Mulayagan in Tamil. And Shiva made him his slave and danced over him the Ananda Tamil. Once the saints came to know about the original form of this beggar, they sought salvation, and Shiva blessed the saints and their families. That is the story of the dwarf on which Shiva is dancing. Next, let's move on to the each part of the idol and the iconography of the idol, not Nataraja's idol. So it is called the representation of Nataraja is the Bhujanga Trasita Karana pose, which is the trembling of the snake. So the lotus, which is found at the bottom, is a symbol of rebirth. The Apasmara or Mulayakan in Tamil, he is the dwarf over which Shiva is dancing, which is a symbol of human ignorance, forgetfulness, or ego. Then you have the ring of flames around the idol, which is the Jwala Mala Prabha Mandala, which is like a garden or garland of flowers, and it symbolifies that it's the life cycle. That is, he is the creator of birth and death. He is the creator of both creation and destruction. Then he is holding the Damaru in his right hand, which is a symbolification of creation, and where Om, the origin of the sounds of Om, is said to have come. Then he is holding Agni on the back left hand, which is a symbolification of destruction. Then the Abhaya Mudra, front right hand, which is a symbolization of a fear not, or a protection gesture. Then his front left hand is across his chest, and his palm is facing downwards towards his feet, where his right feet is on the floor on the dwarf, and his left feet is on the air with his toes pointed outwards. Then he has 3 eyes in the idols. idol structure where the three eyes can be a symbolification of your three gunas, that is sattva, rajas and tamas. And the inner eye, which is the third eye, which is closed, it is symbolification of self-realization or jnana, wisdom. And around his neck, as was discussed previously, he is having a snake that is coiled three times to represent the present, past and future, and also power. His dhoti is tied with a sash, whose sash is bellowing out towards the flames, that is symbolifying the vigorous and the dynamicity with which that he is dancing. But his face is still showing that sereneness and the calmness, not getting affected by the dynamicity with which he is dancing. On his head, there is the datura blossom, a skull, and cassia leaves. Next, the Pancha Kritya, which is the five activities that Lord Shiva performs. First is creation, Shrishti, symbolified by the drum. Protection, Abhayamudra, symbol also known as Sthiti. Destruction, fire, Samhara. Tirobhava, concealment. And Anugraham, moksham or liberation. Now let's move on to the Nataraja statue and Bharathanatyam. What is the significance for a dancer from this statue? We have learned the particulars of the statue. Now, what are the things that a dancer can learn from this statue? Firstly, it is the ability to maintain balance. So we can see that his hair, his matted locks are spread out in the statue because of his vigorous dancing. His sash is bellowing out towards the flames. But still, so the dance is very vigorous and it is in dynamic nature with lots of rhythms and patterns. But he is balancing all of it in a single leg, and it gives us the ability, it's an essential quality of a dancer to be able to maintain balance. Secondly, he has the three eyes, which are symbolifying that a dancer needs to be able to respond to the space around which he is dancing. But the third eyes remain closed. That is again symbolifying that you have to also internalize the movements that you are dancing. Then the hands, the back hands are spread out almost close to a Natyarambam. The Damaru, which is symbolifying your mudras through which we communicate in dance. Then the Tripanga and the Gajahasta are symbolifying both grace as well as the Tandava, both the vigorous form and the more graceful form of dance. Finally, the halo around which Lord Shiva is dancing, it is symbolifying of the classical boundaries within which a dancer is going to create. He is going to experiment, is going to transcend from the man-made barriers. Next, the origin and the history of the statue. The oldest statue dates back to the 6th century CE in Odisha. Even though there are there are some inscriptions in the Indus Valley civilizations as well. There are mentions during the Pallava kingdom, and there are also found. It is also some poses of replicas of this is also found in the Ajanta Ellora caves, Elephanta caves, etc. What are the socio-religious implications and viewpoints? So if you look at the idol from an anthropological point of view, then there can be many deductions that we can make, such that like how one tribe is more superior than the other tribe, or how there is supremacy of or migration of gods and goddesses in that particular area. So for instance, to give a few examples, we can say that there was male god and male patriarchy, and male gods were worshipped to a larger extent. And then we can say that Lord Shiva is having both the fire and the Damaru, which is both a symbol of creation and destruction. So all of it is in his control. Then we have the flames, which is symbolifying that they were at that time worshipping to the sun god. And finally, we also have the dwarf, who on top of whom Lord Shiva is dancing, which has some aboriginal men origin. Next, the scientific findings and iconography of Nataraja. This is how the Nataraja idol and physics is mainly related. So first, I'd like to talk about the unit of opposites. So what I mean by unit of opposites is there is static and there is dynamic nature of the idol. There is both serene and calmness, but at the same time there is frenzied motion of the idol. So there is a balance of light that is being portrayed by Lord Shiva. So you can also say that he is holding both the fire and the Dhamma, which is creation and destruction. So again, there is opposites and there is a balance that's being maintained in life. Secondly, time and space. So according to the relativity theory in physics, we know that time and space are two distinct components. But Lord Shiva's dance is very rhythmic, vigorous, and very dynamic and indefinite into space and both space and time. Also, Lord Shiva has a moon on his head, which is again a symbol of time, that is through its waxing and waning. Finally, quantum theory. Quantum theory is stating that particles are constantly in motion, vibrating, and you can see that they are moving in both wave and particle nature, photon nature. So, in relation to dance, dance is again endless and continuous in a continuous motion with lots of patterns, rhythmicity, and speed. But still, Lord Shiva's face is seen to be very serene and very calm, not showing the implications of how much of dance that he is doing, the rigorosity of the dance. Next, I'd like to talk about the 5 cosmic halls of Shiva in Tamil Nadu. The Sundareshwar temple in Madurai is referred to as the Velli Sabai or the Rajata Sabai, the hall of silver. The Golden Hall, Kanaka Sabai at Chidambaram, the hall of rubies or Ratna Sabha at Tiruvallankadu, the Copper Hall or Tamra Sabha at Nellayappa temple, Tirunelveli, and the Chitra Sabha, the hall of pictures at Kutra. The two images that I have shown in this one is at Chidambaram, where Lord Shiva has danced his Ananda Tandavam. So he is on his resting his right leg on the floor and he is lifting his left leg. But at Madurai, the Nataraja is said to be Kala Matri Adina Atta, where his left leg is on the floor and his right leg is up in the air. So the story behind that is the Pandya king, Rajashekara, he was a very staunch devotee of Lord Shiva. And he found that Shiva's balancing act to be a little disturbing. So he has prayed to Lord Shiva and asked for him to change his leg. So it will be easy for Lord Shiva. And hence we have this idea. Now, some unconventional depictions of the idol. So, the first one is the Urdhva Tandava pose, that is at the Ratna Sabha in Tiruvannamalai, where Karikal Amya sang praises for the Lord. Lord is said to be in the Urdhva Tandava pose with his foot raised up to his head. Next, I have one of the largest Natarajas, almost 8 feet long, at Koimbatore. It has a proportionally large Shivakami, his consort. The temple, the idol never leaves a sanctum, and other bronze idols are taken instead. Next is the Chitra Sabha of the Nataraja, where the Nataraja is a painting on the wall, and all the daily puja is done to the reflection of the deity in a mirror that is placed opposite. In some temples in Tirunelveli, you also have Chandana Nataraja, where the Nataraja is actually covered in sandal paste. Next, the picture is depicting Nataraja with multi-armed, and his feet is crossed and his soul is being shown to his devotees along with his consort goddess Shivakami and a whole devas who are playing various instruments, like Brahma is playing the udukai, Vishnu is playing the drums, Lakshmi is playing the tambura, Saraswati is playing the veena, and also sage Agastya is also present in that. The next image is that at the Veladambur Shiva temple, where Lord Shiva is said to have his hands spread, holding weapons, and all the devas are found at his feet. Finally, the third picture is that of, in 2004, there was a 2-meter statue of the dancing Shiva that was unveiled at CERN, the European Center for Research in Particle Physics in Geneva. This is Shiva, the symbol of cosmic dance, and creation and destruction. So this was given by the Indian government to celebrate the research center's long association with India. Such idols are also found in many places like Nepal, Bali, Indonesia, and also has lots of interlinkage with yoga. I would like to conclude my presentation at this. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you.